In this lecture, we're going to try and summarize the very complex process of how a simple movement occurs. Okay, not something that's easy to do, but we're going to try. So we only have one outcome for this lecture. How does the neural system cause a movement? So as you can see from the schematic, performing a simple movement is actually quite complex. And the reason I say that is if you look at this here, we've got kind of four main areas, but each of these areas has multiple parts of the center of the nervous system that are activated in order to ultimately produce movement of skeletal muscle. So simply put, a movement occurs in the following way. There has to be some sort of stimulus that's recognized. Information about that stimulus is sent along afferent pathways of the central nervous system. The central nervous system then synthesizes that information. Basically, it's deciding what is important, what isn't important, and then based on that, sends a response. The commands for this response are sent along efferent alpha motor neurons, and we're going to talk about alpha motor neurons on the next lecture. And ultimately, these commands can ultimately cause or prevent an action potential from occurring in a skeletal muscle. If an action potential occurs, excuse me, then there will be a muscle contraction. However, let's simplify this even more. Let's just take it to those four steps. Basically, the four steps that were on that original schematic. I need to decide to perform some sort of movement. My brain needs to determine the plan or program of how this movement will occur. Muscles need to be activated at the appropriate time. And then adjustments need to be made as necessary and on the fly. So the first thing we need to do is develop or decide to move. Generally speaking, you don't just get up and move without thinking about it. You have to think about moving. This decision to move is made in the prefrontal cortex of your brain. Once a decision to move has been made, your brain has to determine which muscles are going to be used, when are they going to be used. It also needs to determine if some muscles need to be inhibited and when they need to be inhibited. The supplementary motor area is also involved as it takes into account things such as things that are in the background, such as your body position, other things that are going on, and how this might affect motor plan. Okay, just think about if you're playing catch outside and you're lying down as opposed to standing up, and I don't know why you're lying down when you're playing catch, or if it's really windy, that sort of thing. You have to take into account those factors, and your supplemental motor area helps you do that. Finally, it's time to move. So signals are sent out, and they're sent out in the appropriate time, and these signals will be inhibitory or excitatory. And in both cases, these signals are sent via efferent neurons, and efferent neurons activate or inhibit alpha motor neurons. Now, while this is all going on, your cerebellum gets involved. The cerebellum is comparing what's actually going on to what you planned on having occur. If things aren't going according to plan, then the cerebellum will make appropriate adjustments. Okay, so just think, going back to throwing a ball. Let's say you're the one catching the ball and it looks like it's coming straight at you, and then for some reason there's a gust of wind or there's spin on it that causes the ball to curve. Well, instead of catching it maybe at your chest, maybe now you have to go down and catch it at your feet. Okay, and your cerebellum helps you make these adjustments. So in summary, you need to decide to move, you need to make a plan to move, then you need to execute that plan, or you need to actually move, and if necessary, make adjustments to that. So, are you able to answer these questions? Can you identify the four main steps in executing a movement, and can you identify the parts of the nervous system involved in each step?